I was born with a natural breast milk-like scent. Any baby brought close to me ceases crying. The proprietor of a postpartum care center was so astounded that she offered me $50,000 a month on the spot. I declined and crossed the ocean to study the most arduous discipline, finance, because in my previous life I had entered the wealthiest family in Granborough as their top-rated maternity nurse, hired to care for the tycoon's only daughter and her newborn. At the baby's 1-month celebration, a piece of women's undergarment reeking of a certain smell suddenly dropped from the tycoon's live-in son, in-law's arms. When confronted, that scoundrel swore I'd thrown myself at him, been rebuffed, and planted my own undergarment on him to frame him. I pleaded desperately, but the smell on the undergarment was identical to mine, and the tycoon's daughter had me dragged out and set the dog on me until I died. My parents came to the Walker estate seeking justice. They were brutally killed and fed to the fish. When I opened my eyes again, I forced myself to reject the $50,000 a month salary, crossed the ocean, and worked myself to the bone to become a chief securities analyst. I landed a position at Oceanic International with a 7-figure salary package and got invited to the baby's 1-month celebration for a business partner's grandson, a chance to assess the family in person. At the banquet, a piece of undergarment fell from the same son-in-law's arms once more. Facing the tycoon's interrogation, Samuel Weiss didn't flinch. His gaze swept across the crowd, found me, and he pointed. She crawled into my bed and tried to seduce me. When I refused, she stuffed her own undergarment on me to set me up. I swear to God, I have never done anything to betray Effie. The lace was soiled. The ample cup size clearly didn't match Effie Walker's slender frame. She was glaring at me as if she wanted to tear me apart with her bare hands. I calmly set my wine glass down. No panic this time. Unlike in my last life. I looked straight at Samuel Weiss and spoke. Samuel Weiss, you can consume whatever rubbish you like, but watch what you say. I left Arden to study abroad when I was 18. I only returned today. You, on the other hand, have never left this country in your life. Today is the first time we've ever met. How exactly could I have slipped an undergarment into your jacket? Seems more like you cheated on your wife and couldn't get enough, so you kept her undergarment close to your chest to sniff whenever the urge struck. The words were so blunt that the entire table fell silent. Every guest turned to stare at him. Samuel's face flushed scarlet, but he kept talking, trying to save himself. Nonsense. You're one of the maternity nurses in my household. From the very first day, you couldn't stop flirting with me. When I ignored you, you got more brazen. Last night, for just a moment, I wasn't paying attention. You pushed my door open, crawled under the covers, and threw yourself at me. If I hadn't threatened to call my wife right outside that door and have you fired on the spot, you never would have stopped. His words made Effie's brow furrow. Since the baby was born, the professional nurse team had advised her and Samuel to sleep in separate rooms. Last night, she'd gotten up thirsty for water, and as she passed his door, she'd heard something. Her sharp gaze landed on me. Effie was starting to believe him, and Samuel saw it, so he put on an act and kept slandering me. I saw you were a woman out here making a living as a maternity nurse. Not an easy job, so I did you a favor and kept quiet. But I never imagined you could be this malicious. You couldn't seduce me, so now you're framing me instead? What a venomous woman. Effie, Mr. Walker, there's no way our daughter can be left in the hands of a woman like this. She needs to be fired immediately. His words struck Effie right where it hurt the most. That newborn girl was the most precious thing in Effie's world. She turned to her father at once. Dad, a nurse this malicious who knows what she's already done to the baby. Bring Brutus out. Let him get the truth out of her. Eric nodded. A moment later, an enormous iron cage was wheeled to the center of the banquet hall. The black cloth was removed. Inside, a mastiff as tall as a grown man locked its eyes on me and let out a low, eager growl. The bodyguards unlocked the cage and moved towards me, ready to shove me inside. The memory of being torn apart by that same beast flashed before my eyes and I spoke right away. That undergarment reeks of breast milk. I'm not even breastfeeding. It's not mine. Samuel's face darkened instantly. He lunged for the undergarment in a panic, clearly about to toss it into the nearby swimming pool, but Effie was quicker. She snatched it away and had someone examine it. One look at the stains and her face turned livid. Her eyes dropped to my flat chest and she backhanded Samuel across the face. I know every woman who's breastfed my daughter. She is not one of them. Who is this other woman? The ring on Effie's hand left a bloody scratch across Samuel's cheek, but he didn't dare show even a hint of anger. All he could do was fix me with a malevolent stare and keep piling the slander on me. Who says a woman has to be breastfeeding to smell like that? Some women are just born with it, milk in their bodies whether they've had a baby or not, and this sweet, odd scent coming off their skin. Doesn't matter how fussy the kid is. The second it gets close to a woman like her, it stops crying. Can't help but cling to her. She's barely in her 20s and she walked in here getting $50,000 a month as a maternity nurse. Maybe that's exactly her advantage. That undergarment is hers. Samuel presented his case so convincingly that Effie demanded I strip on the spot for inspection. I flat out refused and pulled out my phone to call the police. Samuel snatched it from my hand and smashed it on the ground. You say it isn't you? Then let someone check. Simple. Why all the resistance? Because you know you're guilty. I wasn't about to back down. Didn't do it. End of story. You want me to strip over some baseless accusation? Fine. Then I say you're impotent. Why don't you drop your pants and prove it to everyone here? That silenced Samuel. Effie, however, was frowning deeply. She told me Samuel wouldn't accuse someone without cause. If you say that undergarment isn't yours, find a way to prove it. Or step inside and have a talk with Brutus. I find that facing those fangs has a way of making liars tell the truth. Effie was cornering me. Strip naked in front of everyone to prove my innocence, or climb into that cage and be dog food. The bodyguards had already closed in around me. The moment I tried to run, they would swarm me, grab me, and stuff me into that cage, a wrongfully accused corpse under the mastiff's claws. I took a deep breath and made my decision right then. I reached into my bag and let the documents speak for me. A diploma from a top university in Westbridge State, a doctorate in economics. I also had an employment letter from Oceanic International naming me chief securities analyst, but that stayed in the bag. I wasn't about to involve professional business in this. I held up the two credentials and looked Effie straight in the eye. Miss Walker, I studied in Westbridge State. Everyone knows what it takes to get through there. 6 years I toiled for a finance doctorate at one of the best institutions on the planet. I earn a 7-figure salary. With the bodyguards closing in and the mastiff waiting, how will she use her credentials to prove her innocence, and what new schemes will Samuel come up with to frame her?